Welcome to my channel. Do you want to talk in English well, but you feel nervous when you try to speak? Do you understand English well when you read or listen, but when it is time to speak, the words do not come easily? If this happens to you, do not worry. You are not alone. Many English learners around the world have the same problem. They learn many words, they study grammar, and they watch many English videos, but speaking still feels difficult. The good news is that speaking English well is not as hard as you think. You do not need perfect grammar. You do not need very difficult words. What you really need is the right way to practice and the right way to think in English. In this video, I will show you simple and powerful ideas that can help you speak English better step by step. These ideas are easy to follow and perfect for beginners. If you watch this video until the end, you will learn how to practice speaking every day, how to build confidence, and how to make English a natural part of your life. So stay with me, and let's start learning how to talk in English well. Chapter 1. First, we need to understand something very important about speaking English well. Many learners believe that they must speak perfect English before they start speaking. They think their grammar must be perfect. They think their pronunciation must sound like a native speaker. They think they must know thousands of words. Because of this thinking, many learners stay silent. They study a lot, but they do not speak. This is one of the biggest mistakes in language learning. The truth is very simple. You do not need perfect English to speak good English. You only need the courage to start. Speaking English well means communicating your ideas clearly. It means people can understand what you want to say. Even if your sentences are simple, communication is still happening, and communication is the real goal of language. Think about a small child who is learning to speak. A child does not speak perfect sentences. Sometimes the child says only one or two words. Sometimes the child makes many mistakes, but the child keeps trying again and again. Slowly, the child becomes a good speaker. Language grows with use. Many English learners forget this simple truth. They believe learning must come before speaking, but in reality, speaking is also part of learning. When you speak, your brain becomes active. Your brain begins to organize words into sentences. Your brain starts remembering vocabulary faster. Every time you try to speak, your brain becomes stronger in English. Another common problem is fear of mistakes. Many learners feel embarrassed when they make a mistake. They worry that other people will laugh at them. Because of this fear, they avoid speaking. But mistakes are not something bad. Mistakes are actually teachers. Every mistake shows you something new. When you say a sentence and someone corrects you, you learn the right way. This is how improvement happens. Think about learning to ride a bicycle. In the beginning, people fall many times, but falling is part of the learning process. If someone is afraid of falling and never tries, they will never learn to ride a bicycle. Speaking English is very similar. If you are afraid of mistakes, your progress becomes slow. But if you accept mistakes and keep speaking, your improvement becomes fast. Another important idea to understand is the difference between passive learning and active learning. Passive learning means activities like watching English videos, reading English books, or listening to English podcasts. These activities are very helpful. They help you understand the language. They help you learn new words, but they do not train your speaking muscles completely. Active learning is different. Active learning means using the language yourself. It means forming your own sentences. It means opening your mouth and speaking. Active learning forces your brain to create language, not just understand it. This is why speaking practice is so important. Many learners spend hours watching English content, but only a few minutes speaking English. This creates an imbalance. Their listening becomes strong, but their speaking stays weak. To speak English well, you must balance both. You must listen and speak.
You must read and speak. You must learn and use. Now let us talk about a very simple practice that can help beginners start speaking immediately. This practice is called talking to yourself. Some people think talking to yourself sounds strange, but it is actually a powerful language learning method. When you talk to yourself, you remove the fear of judgment. Nobody is correcting you. Nobody is laughing. It is only you practicing. You can start with very small sentences. For example, when you wake up in the morning, you can say simple things in English. You can say, "Good morning. Today is a new day." When you go to the kitchen, you can say, "I am making tea." When you eat breakfast, you can say, "This food is delicious." These sentences are simple, but they train your brain to form English thoughts. Another good exercise is describing things around you. Look around your room and describe what you see. You can say, "This is my table. My phone is on the table. The window is open. The weather looks nice." This kind of practice helps your brain connect English words with real objects. You can also talk about your daily activities. For example, you can say, "Today I will go to work. Today I will study English. I want to learn 5 new words today." When you speak about your daily life, the sentences become meaningful. Meaningful sentences are easier to remember. At the beginning, your sentences may be very small. That is completely fine. Remember, fluency grows step by step. A baby first says 1 word, then 2 words, then a full sentence. Your English speaking will grow in the same way. Another important tip is speaking slowly. Many learners try to speak very fast because they want to sound fluent. But speaking too fast can create more mistakes. It can also make you feel nervous. When you speak slowly, you give your brain time to think. Your pronunciation becomes clearer. People can understand you more easily. Confidence also grows when you complete small speaking tasks every day. For example, you can set a goal to speak English for 5 minutes every day. Next week, you can increase it to 10 minutes. Small progress creates big results over time. You should also remember that every good English speaker was once a beginner. Nobody starts perfect. Every fluent speaker has made thousands of mistakes in the past. The difference is that they did not stop. They continued practicing and improving. Learning to speak English well is not about being perfect. It is about being consistent. When you speak a little every day, your confidence grows. Your vocabulary becomes stronger, your sentences become smoother. Slowly, English becomes a natural part of your life. So the most important lesson in this chapter is very simple. Do not wait for perfect English. Start speaking with simple English today. Speak with confidence. Accept mistakes. Practice daily. When you do this, you will take the first real step towards speaking English well. Chapter 2. Now that you understand that speaking English does not require perfect grammar, the next important step is building strong, daily speaking habits. Speaking English well is not something that happens in one day. It happens little by little with regular practice. Think about it like exercise. If someone goes to the gym once a month, their body will not become strong. But if they exercise a little every day, their body slowly becomes stronger. Learning to speak English works in the same way. Small daily practice creates big improvement over time. Many learners ask one common question. They ask, "How can I practice speaking English every day if I do not have someone to speak with?" This is a very common problem. But the truth is that you do not always need another person to practice speaking. There are many ways to practice by yourself, and these methods can help you improve your speaking skills step by step. The first habit you should build is listening to English every day. Listening is very important because it trains your brain to understand how English sounds in real life. When you listen regularly, you learn how words connect with each other. You learn the rhythm of English. You learn how sentences are naturally spoken. But it is important to listen actively, not passively. Passive listening means playing English audio while doing something else and not paying much attention. Active listening means focusing on what the speaker is saying. You try to understand the words, the pronunciation, and the sentence structure. Even if you don't understand everything, your brain is still learning. For beginners, it is best to listen to simple English. If the audio is too difficult, it becomes frustrating. Choose videos or recordings made for English learners. Listen carefully to short sentences. When you hear a sentence, pause the video and repeat the sentence yourself. This simple action helps your mouth and tongue practice the sounds. One powerful technique for speaking improvement is called repetition. Repetition means saying the same sentence many times. Some learners think repetition is boring, but it is actually very powerful. When you repeat sentences, your brain starts remembering the patterns automatically. Your mouth becomes more comfortable saying the words. Another excellent speaking method is shadowing. Shadowing means listening to a speaker and repeating what they say immediately after them. You try to copy their pronunciation, their rhythm, and their tone. At first, it may feel difficult because the speaker talks quickly, but with practice, your listening and speaking improve at the same time. For example, you listen to a sentence like, "I am learning English every day." After hearing it, you repeat the sentence. Then you repeat it again. Slowly, your pronunciation becomes clearer. Your confidence also grows. Reading aloud is another very useful habit for improving speaking skills. Many learners read silently, but reading aloud is much better for speaking practice. When you read aloud, you practice forming full sentences with your voice. You train your mouth to pronounce words clearly. You also improve your fluency. You can start with simple books, short articles, or even subtitles from English videos. Choose something easy to understand. When you read aloud, do not rush. Speak slowly and clearly. Pay attention to how the words sound. Another helpful habit is recording your own voice. Many learners feel shy about this idea, but it is one of the best ways to improve speaking. When you record yourself speaking, you can listen to your pronunciation and notice your mistakes. You may realize that some words are not clear. You may notice that you pause too often. This awareness helps you improve. You do not need expensive equipment for this. Your phone is enough. Simply record yourself talking about a simple topic. For example, you can talk about your day. You can say what you did in the morning, what you ate for lunch, or what you plan to do tomorrow. Speak for 1 or 2 minutes, then listen to your recording. At first, your voice may sound strange to you. This is normal because we are not used to hearing our own voice. But after some time, you will become comfortable with it. You will start noticing improvement in your speaking. Another important daily habit is learning small phrases instead of only single words. Many learners spend a lot of time memorizing long vocabulary lists, but knowing many words does not always help with speaking. What helps more is learning how words connect to form natural phrases. For example, instead of learning the word hungry alone, learn the phrase, "I am hungry." Instead of learning tired, learn the phrase, "I feel tired." These small phrases help your brain create sentences faster. You can also practice speaking by describing pictures. Look at a photo or an image and describe what you see. For example, you might say, "There is a man sitting in the park. He is reading a book. The weather looks sunny." This exercise trains your brain to create sentences quickly. Daily speaking practice does not need to be long. Even 10 or 15 minutes a day can create strong improvement. The most important thing is consistency. If you practice a little every day, your brain slowly becomes more comfortable with English. It is also important to be patient with yourself. Progress may feel slow in the beginning. Sometimes you may feel that your English is not improving, but improvement is happening little by little. Language learning is like planting a seed. You water the plant every day, and slowly it grows. Every time you listen carefully, repeat sentences, read aloud, record your voice, and use small phrases, you are building stronger speaking skills. Your brain is becoming more familiar with English. Your confidence is growing. The key message of this chapter is simple. Speaking English well comes from daily habits. You do not need long study sessions. You only need consistent practice. Listen every day, repeat sentences, read aloud, record yourself, use small phrases. When you follow these habits regularly, your speaking ability will grow naturally and steadily. Chapter 3. In the previous chapters, we talked about the importance of speaking practice and daily habits. Now we will discuss another very powerful skill that can change your English speaking completely. This skill is learning how to think in English. Many English learners do something that slows them down when they speak. They first think in their own language, and then they try to translate their thoughts into English. This habit makes speaking slow and sometimes confusing. For example, imagine you want to say a simple sentence like, "I am going to the market." Many learners first think of this sentence in their native language.
Then their brain starts searching for English words to translate the sentence. This process takes time. Sometimes the learner cannot find the right word quickly. Because of this, the conversation stops or becomes uncomfortable. But fluent English speakers do something different. They usually think directly in English. Their brain connects ideas with English words immediately. Because of this, they can speak more naturally and more quickly. The good news is that you can train your brain to do the same thing. Thinking in English is a skill, and like any skill, it becomes stronger with practice. The first step to thinking in English is very simple. Start noticing objects around you and name them in English. Look at the things in your room and say their names in English. For example, you can say, "This is a chair. This is my phone. This is a window." This may seem very simple, but it is an important exercise. It helps your brain connect real objects with English words without translation. After some time, you can start making small sentences about these objects. For example, you can say, "The chair is comfortable. My phone is on the table. The window is open." When you practice this regularly, your brain slowly becomes used to forming English sentences directly. Another good exercise is describing your actions during the day. As you go through your daily routine, talk about what you are doing in English. For example, in the morning, you can say, "I am brushing my teeth. I am making breakfast. I am drinking tea." These sentences are simple, but they help your brain practice thinking in English while doing normal activities. During the day, you can continue this practice. When you walk outside, you can say, "The weather is nice today. I see many cars on the road. People are walking in the street." When you are at work or at school, you can describe your tasks. You might say, "I am writing an email. I am reading a document. I am studying English." This type of thinking may feel slow in the beginning. Sometimes you may not know the English word for something. When this happens, do not stop the practice. Instead, try to explain the idea with simple words that you already know. For example, if you do not know the word calculator, you might say, the machine that helps with numbers. This kind of thinking helps you communicate even when your vocabulary is small. Another important method for thinking in English is asking yourself questions and answering them in English. You can ask simple questions like, what am I doing today? What do I want to eat? What did I do yesterday? Then answer these questions using simple sentences. This exercise trains your brain to create conversations inside your mind. You can also talk about your plans. For example, you might say, tomorrow, I will visit my friend. Next week, I want to study more English. Talking about future plans helps you practice different sentence patterns and verb forms. Storytelling is another great way to practice thinking in English. At the end of the day, try to tell yourself a short story about your day. You can say, today I woke up early. I drank coffee. Then I went to work. After work, I watched an English video. These small stories help your brain organize ideas in English. Some learners worry because their vocabulary is small. They think they cannot think in English because they do not know enough words. But this is not true. Thinking in English does not require thousands of words. It only requires simple words used regularly. Even with basic vocabulary, you can describe many things in your life. For example, you can talk about food, weather, family, work, and hobbies using simple sentences. The more you practice, the more words you naturally learn. Your vocabulary grows because you are using English in real situations. Another helpful exercise is visual thinking. When you see something interesting, describe it in English inside your mind. If you see a dog running in the park, you can think, the dog is running very fast. If you see children playing, you can think, the children are playing football. This habit turns everyday life into English practice. Thinking in English also reduces fear during conversations. When your brain is already thinking in English, speaking becomes easier. You do not need to stop and translate. Words come to your mind faster. Your sentences become more natural. Of course, this habit takes time to develop. In the beginning, you may still translate sometimes.
That is completely normal. Do not feel discouraged. Every time you try to think in English, your brain becomes a little stronger. It is also helpful to surround yourself with English as much as possible. When you listen to English videos, read English texts, and practice speaking, your brain receives more English input. This input helps your mind become familiar with English patterns. Slowly, thinking in English becomes automatic. You should remember that fluency begins in the mind. Before words come out of your mouth, they are first created in your thoughts. If your thoughts are in English, speaking becomes much easier. So the key lesson of this chapter is very clear. Train your brain to think directly in English. Start with simple words. Describe objects around you. Talk about your daily actions. Ask yourself questions. Tell small stories about your day. These small exercises may seem simple, but they create a powerful change in your speaking ability. When you begin thinking in English, speaking will no longer feel like a difficult task. It will feel natural, comfortable, and much more enjoyable. Chapter 4. In the previous chapters, we learned about speaking regularly and thinking in English. Now, it is time to focus on pronunciation and clarity. Many learners make the mistake of thinking that they must speak like a native speaker. They worry too much about having a perfect accent. This worry can create fear and stop them from speaking. The truth is, having a perfect accent is not necessary. The goal is not to sound like a native speaker. The goal is to speak clearly so people can understand you easily. When your pronunciation is clear and your words are organized, your communication becomes effective, even if your accent is different. The first step in improving pronunciation is listening carefully. Listening to native speakers is very important because it shows you how words are pronounced in real situations. Many learners listen to English, but they do not pay attention to details. They hear the words, but they do not notice how the speaker moves their mouth, stresses certain words, or changes the tone of their voice. Listening carefully allows you to imitate the rhythm, tone, and flow of English. One simple exercise is to listen to short sentences and repeat them immediately. This exercise is called imitation or shadowing. When you hear a sentence, try to copy the way the speaker says it. Notice which words are stressed. Notice how some words are connected in natural speech. Repeat the sentence several times until it feels comfortable. For example, if you hear, "I am going to the store," pay attention to how "going to" is often pronounced as "gonna." When you practice like this, your pronunciation becomes more natural over time. Another important aspect of pronunciation is slowing down your speech. Many learners try to speak fast because they want to sound fluent, but speaking too fast can create confusion. Your brain may not organize the words correctly, and listeners may have difficulty understanding you. Speaking slowly gives your brain time to think, your mouth time to form words, and the listener time to understand your message. It also reduces mistakes and builds confidence. Start speaking slowly and gradually increase your speed as your pronunciation improves. Intonation is another key part of clear pronunciation. Intonation is the rise and fall of your voice while speaking. Native speakers use intonation to show emotion, ask questions, or emphasize words. For example, in the question, "Are you coming today?" the voice rises at the end. In the statement, "I am coming today," the voice falls at the end. Practicing intonation makes your speech sound natural and helps the listener understand your meaning more easily. Reading aloud is a very effective way to improve pronunciation and clarity. When you read silently, your brain only processes words internally. But when you read aloud, you practice forming sentences with your mouth, controlling your tone, and connecting words smoothly. Start with simple texts like children's books, short stories, or news articles. Read slowly and clearly. After some time, try reading the same text faster while still maintaining clarity. This exercise improves fluency and pronunciation simultaneously. Another powerful method is practicing common phrases instead of individual words. Many learners focus too much on single words, but speaking is about combining words naturally. When you practice phrases like, "How are you doing today?" "I would like a cup of tea, please," or "What do you think about this?" your brain learns how sentences flow in real conversation. Repeating these phrases aloud helps you speak smoothly and naturally. Recording yourself is also very helpful for pronunciation. Many learners feel shy about listening to their own voice, but it is an excellent tool for improvement. When you record yourself, you can notice mistakes that you do not realize while speaking. You may hear words that are unclear or sentences that do not sound smooth. By listening carefully, you can correct these mistakes and improve gradually. Mimicking native speakers is another important technique. Watch videos of native speakers and pay attention to their mouth movements, tone, and expressions. Try to imitate not only the words, but also the way they say them. This exercise may feel like acting at first, but it helps your brain and mouth work together to produce natural speech. Over time, this practice will improve both your pronunciation and your confidence. Practicing tongue twisters is a fun and useful exercise. Tongue twisters are short phrases that are difficult to say quickly, like "She sells seashells by the seashore." Practicing tongue twisters helps you improve clarity, pronunciation, and speed. Start slowly and focus on saying each word clearly. Gradually increase your speed as your mouth becomes more comfortable. Another simple but effective method is focusing on problem words. Some words in English are difficult for beginners to pronounce. Make a list of these words and practice them every day. Say each word slowly, then in a sentence. Repeating this exercise every day strengthens your pronunciation muscles and builds confidence. It is also helpful to speak with your friends, family, or language partners and ask them to listen carefully to your pronunciation. Sometimes other people can notice small mistakes that you do not hear yourself. Accept their feedback and practice the correct pronunciation. This feedback loop is very powerful for improvement. Confidence is closely linked to pronunciation. Many learners speak quietly or hesitate because they feel unsure of their pronunciation. But the more you practice, the more confident you become. Clear pronunciation and slow, careful speaking create a strong foundation for confident English conversations. In addition, remember that perfection is not the goal. Even fluent speakers make pronunciation mistakes. What matters is that people understand you and your ideas flow naturally. Focus on communicating clearly rather than trying to be perfect. By combining listening, imitation, reading aloud, practicing phrases, recording yourself, mimicking native speakers, and focusing on problem words, your pronunciation and clarity will improve steadily. This chapter shows that pronunciation is not something that comes instantly. It comes from consistent practice, careful listening, and confident speaking. The key lesson of this chapter is very simple. Speak slowly, listen carefully, imitate native speakers, read aloud, and practice common phrases. Do not worry about a perfect accent. Focus on clear pronunciation and natural rhythm. When you follow these steps every day, your speaking becomes easier to understand, your confidence grows, and your English starts to sound more natural. Clear pronunciation is a bridge between thinking in English and speaking fluently. When your pronunciation is clear, every sentence you speak carries your ideas effectively. It is not just about sounding good. It is about making communication simple, confident, and natural. By practicing the methods in this chapter, you are preparing yourself for real conversations where people understand you easily and you can express yourself without hesitation. This is the moment when practice, confidence, and clarity come together. When you speak clearly, your mind feels calm, your sentences flow naturally, and your English becomes powerful. This chapter shows that pronunciation is not a barrier, but a tool that makes your English speaking stronger, smoother, and more enjoyable. Chapter 5. In the previous chapters, we learned about speaking regularly, thinking in English, and improving pronunciation. Now, it is time to focus on something very important: confidence in real conversations. Many learners can understand English well, and they can even form sentences in their mind. But when it is time to speak with other people, they feel nervous. Their hands shake, their heart beats faster, and sometimes their words stop coming. This fear is normal. Almost every English learner feels this at some point. The good news is that confidence is not something you were born with. Confidence is a skill that you can develop with practice. The first step to building confidence is accepting that mistakes are normal. Many learners are afraid of making mistakes in front of others. They worry that people will judge them or laugh at them. But mistakes are not a sign of failure. Mistakes are a sign that you are trying. Every mistake is an opportunity to learn. Think about a baby learning to walk. The baby falls many times, but each fall helps the baby understand how to balance. Speaking English works the same way. Every mistake teaches your brain something new. When you accept mistakes as a natural part of learning, your fear decreases and your confidence grows. The second step is creating real opportunities to speak English. Many beginners think they cannot practice speaking because they don't have anyone to talk to. This is not true. You can find speaking opportunities in many ways. You can speak with friends or family who are also learning English. You can join online communities and language exchange groups. You can even practice with apps that allow voice conversations with other learners or native speakers. The more you speak in real situations, the more confident you become. Confidence grows when you use English regularly, not just when you practice alone. Another very effective method is preparing small conversation topics.